So what exactly is going on in the field of performing arts, music and theatre? Welcome to Colours of India, your half-hour window into all that's happening in the world of culture. First, let's take a quick look at the main stories this week. We have Abilities Unlimited, exploring the Sufi language, and hot on an international food trail. A two-day festival was organised by Vanashri and Jairam Rao on behalf of the Kuchipudi Dance Academy, and the show had the blessings of all the prominent names from the dance fraternity. It was a star-spangled evening with the entire classical dance fraternity out to support Vriddhi. The show began with a solo Kuchipudi performance by T. Reddy Lakshmi, a disciple of Guru Jairam Rao and Vanashri Rao. Crisp rhythmic footwork along with Natya or drama and Nritya or storytelling defined her dance. Kathak, the dance tradition of northern India, was represented by Vidya Lal, disciple of Guru Gitanjali Lal. Vidya was graceful and her performance a perfect balance of technique and expressions. There was also Bharatanatyam by Sharanya Chandran, daughter and disciple of Guru Gita Chandran. Graceful gestures and elaborate postures defined her style of dance, and the piece offered a lot of scope for Abhinaya. The last part of the show stole the thunder. Differentially able children from the Ability Unlimited Foundation performed the Sufi dance of the whirling dervishes while still seated on their wheelchairs. The techniques adopted by these young performers and the message they wished to convey through their dance was the most magnificent. And there was more to their show. They performed both Bharatanatyam and yoga on wheels, challenging and breaking the cardinal rule of Mallikeshwara's Abhinaya Darpana, which states that only a physically fit person can become a classical dancer. The production quality of the show was also world class. If you believe in people and if you are willing to give them a chance, there is no stopping those amazing and incredible things that they can achieve. Now, history in the making was documented in the form of frozen images, and the same was exhibited at the Italian Cultural Center recently. People might die and move into another realm, but the fire that was them doesn't die just as soon. Tina Modoti, Italian artist and photographer, died in Mexico in 1942, but she continues to live and is remembered as a person who gave photography its present look. An exhibition of her rare photographs, curated by Raghu Rai, was held at the Italian Cultural Center with the support of the Mexican Embassy.
People like Elvis Bravo, and then Edward Weston, Tina Modoti, if they weren't there, we won't be there. Because these are the guys who created a reference point in new art form called photography. At that point of time, the only reference point was mostly paintings and sculptures, and everybody would follow or photograph situations or portraits in a painting style. But then these photographers, they wanted their image to look like a photograph.
Everyday life in Mexico, women feeding babies, revolutionaries carrying the marks of their struggles and the flags of their country were all subjects of Modoti's photography. Also on display were some memorabilia of Pandurangan Kankoj, an Indian freedom fighter who pioneered the Mexican corn and green revolution, a close friend of Modoti's. Their friendship translated into an outstanding photographic work and a record of history after Modoti captured his agricultural research within a frame. The exhibition also emphasized on the relationship between Indians, Italians and Mexicans. History is a fascinating subject, and every time I visit a show like this, that's when I realize how small and connected our world really is. Now it's time for us to take a small break, but there's more on the other side, so stay tuned. Coming up next, Sufi traditions and Qawwali. Also, the We 4 countries on a single platter. Welcome back. With Delhi winters comes the DIAF festival, and this year their launch event at the Purana Killa was a stunner, to say the least. It is not merely borders that India shares with certain South Asian countries. Sufism and the tradition of Qawwalis dates back centuries and is a bond that ties together these nations. Which is why DIAF, in association with ICCR, brought together artists from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Uzbekistan and Turkey, along with Indian artists.
It's our inward desire. We think from the core of our heart to exchange our views with each other, which is Sufism, which is the inner philosophy of humankind, and which is the inner philosophy of every religion, which is the inner thought, and which is the inner philosophy of every religion throughout the world, even not our subcontinent.
Abu Khan's Pakistani troupe began the show with Allahu, and he was also the moderator for a Jugalbandi, which urged other artists to join in. The verses that they sang praising Allah sent across positive vibes until the Istanbul Orient Ensemble from Turkey stood up and started to move. The whirling dervishes transformed the musical evening into a spiritual one dedicated to the gods.
Qawwali is a nice trend and form of its own arena from very ancient period. Amir Khusro, he invented the procedure of Qawwali, the Rawza of Amir Khusro in Delhi, historic city Delhi. Then Qawwali becomes the very much like all the people of subcontinent, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, throughout the world. This Qawwali, there are so many famous Qawwals over in subcontinent, such as, yeah.
This kind of program really brings all Delhiites together, and I feel so proud being a Delhiite. Delhi जैसा शहर पूरे भारत में नहीं है, because every musical program, this kind of a Sufi program, free of cost for all walks of life, it's incredible.
Other troupes also sang the Qawwali, each in their unique style. While the Pakistani group was energetic, the Afghan troupe was mellow. Uzbekistan's lead singer sang in his native language, and the Bangladeshi musicians won hearts with popular numbers. It was a first-of-its-kind event, and cultures of the world came together to celebrate both music and spirituality. 5 world countries have a similar past and the same Sufi language, and it is this combined synergy of traditions that is amazing to watch. Now let's move on to watch the Scottish Dance Theatre's contemporary performance. Contemporary dance is about incorporating modern and experimental moves with classical ballet. And the Scottish Dance Theatre, as part of DIAF, brought 3 thrilling contemporary dance pieces which were choreographed by UK's leading names. Drift, the first piece they performed, was choreographed by James Wilton, and it pushed the dancers to their very limits. This powerful duet portrayed loneliness and closeness and absolute commitment to the high-risking trust in a relationship. The choreography maintained its fluidity even in parts where they performed acrobatic stunts.
Bringing cultures together is exactly what we've been looking forward to in India. This idea of amalgamating or understanding each other's cultures across so many thousands of miles and coming together and learning from each other. We've had so many skills sharing sessions and opportunities to meet artists and meet young people over here. It's been fantastic to just try to begin to understand it or have a flavour of the different cultures over here.
Next was Dog, choreographed by Hofish Schechter, an exhilarating piece which focused on the evolution of humans. The piece depicted the monotony of human life, and using dog as a metaphor, they show how every being strives to stand up and become more like humans. It ends with a message that even evolution is not the end.
Well, I come from Scotland, where we have the Edinburgh Arts Festival, which is the biggest in the world, but it's so exciting to be in Delhi and to see this festival growing and to be part of it. And so the Delhi International Festival, in making sure that we bring different arts forms together, including tonight, Scottish Dance Theatre, I think is a great way of showcasing the best of contemporary art, and it's important that we celebrate that.
Luxuria, the theatre's priceless performance was kept for the last. There was smoke on stage and in waltzed the dancers with flowy gowns. Choreographed by Liv Laurent, the piece was witty and tender, exploring various desires while searching for fulfillment. A highly energetic and delightful performance, and the use of stage, music and light equally interesting. Now it's time for us to take a small break. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned because there's more on the other side. Up next, Food Trail. Welcome back. This week we are hot in the trail of some international food. We are going to be looking at traditional recipes, dishes that have a very strong connect to a particular region, and if luck has it, we will also discover some traveling food metaphors. The 6th Delhi International Arts Festival has gone one step ahead, pairing cultural celebrations with, wait for it, food. At the inauguration of the event, the 4 Visegrad countries, Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland and Slovakia, showcase their performing arts traditions along with their unique culinary ones.
Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland and Hungary is called the Visegrad Countries. This dates back to the 14th century when the 3 kings, that time they were 3 kingdoms, they met in a place called Visegrad, which is now in Hungary, and that time it was also Hungary, and they agreed to work together. And ever since, in and out, they worked together. And after the changes in 1990, the 4 countries again, after they became independent, they started working together again. One area of cooperation is cuisine, because we share very similar backgrounds as of the kitchen, being these countries very close to each other.
At a special counter set up for the evening at Eros Hilton Hotel, each country was well represented. There was Slovakian haluski, Polish baked celeriac with hazelnut and rapeseed oil, the Czech bread dumplings and pea puree, and the famous Hungarian goulash, among so many other things. So like I was telling you earlier, 4 different countries have showcased their best in culinary cultures here, and what we've decided to do is split it up into 2 plates. I have here just Poland and Slovakia, and this is Hungary and Czech Republic. We'll go 1 country at a time, rather 2 countries at a time. Slovakian and Polish dishes were the first that I tried. Meat is most preferred in these regions, so the pork tenderloin with shallots and red wine and the marinated duck with cranberry jam are as traditional as the Slovakian and Polish dishes could get. And of course there was the haluski, which in fact defines Slovakian cooking. It is homemade noodles with boiled cabbage, and it closely resembles something that you will get in most parts of Germany. Again, it is because of the close culinary connect and the relationships that all these countries have had with each other. The dish itself is a little bland. What comes across is the strong flavor of a vinegar and a little bit of salt. That's about it. On plate 2, I had the cauliflower pancakes made with white cheese and chive, bread dumplings and garlic-infused pea puree, dishes that spell Czech. Now this is very interesting. It's just fresh peas which have been pureed, and they have added a little bit of garlic to it, I suppose. Now that's interesting. A very, very slight hint of garlic. Perfect.
The Czech cuisine is like a little bit about using the dumplings and the boiling the beef and pork using, and do it with kind of sauce special come from Czech Republic. We don't using not too much spices. It's just like soft taste. Difference are the Czech cuisine. We do it the dumplings. Hungarian cuisine do it perkelt or goulash. Slovak do it halušky, it's typical Slovakian food. And Polish do it the duck and using the beetroot and something else.
There was also the Hungarian goulash and the Bulgar pilav. And then there is also the pilav. Now the pilav is a dish that you will find largely in Central Asian countries. The pilav is there in Turkey. The pilav is of course there in India in the form of pulav. And the Hungarian version of it, thanks to the Ottoman Turks, bears a very close resemblance to the pulav that we have here in India and to the pilav that they have there in Turkey.
Hungary is very much related to the Asian kitchens. Hungarians came from somewhere from Central Asia, so the kitchen was always a very important part of life. Therefore, this continued, and in our dishes sometimes you can feel or we can find traces of Asian origin, of our Asian origin. I couldn't name many, but the kind of spices we used to have in the earlier days, there was definitely a connection to the East. For example, we use a lot of garlic, we use a lot of onions, then we use a lot of bread, the kind of bread that you have in India, for example. So these are very significant similarities in the Asian and the Hungarian cuisine.
Cooking styles of the V4 countries gives importance to flavors and textures and is a delight to have if you have an open mind and are willing to experiment with your personal sense of taste. The V4 Food Festival is on till the 9th of November, so don't worry if you've missed out on the opening night. Now that's all we have for you on this week's episode. You can send in your suggestions and feedbacks and your food ideas to our Facebook page. We look forward to hearing from you. Until later next week, goodbye and take good care.